Hi everyone, I hope you're doing well. Today I wanted to talk to you about my Commonplace book. And to be really honest, I almost wasn't going to make this video, and I'll briefly tell you why. There are a lot of videos on Commonplace books and on the practice of commonplacing here on YouTube, and I only just recently started my Commonplace book. And as of now, it literally only has 1.5 page. So it felt a bit silly to go all, hey, this is how I've been commonplacing, while I feel like I don't really know that much about it yet and I don't have much experience with it. But I also think that it can maybe lower the barrier of entry for some of you because all these notebooks that are filled to the brim can seem a little intimidating or overwhelming, maybe, while it is actually so easy to get started. So what I'll do is I will tell you a little bit about what commonplacing is, but if you want to learn more about that, I will link some creators in the video description who explain this in more detail and far more eloquently than I do. But in short, a commonplace book is a book, usually a physical notebook, where you collect quotes, wisdom, something that touched you, that made you pause and think. And the reason you collect these quotes instead of just highlighting them is because this helps in the processing, the metabolizing, as it were, of the information. It helps you reflect on the information. Like, why does this resonate with me? Is there something in this statement that I don't agree with? Can I connect this quote to something I've read before? Commonplace books are not new. They've been kept for ages by writers, philosophers, scientists, politicians, and so on. And if you want to learn more about the history of commonplace books, there is a video by ParkNotes called The Four Kinds of Commonplace Books. That is a great place to start and that I have also linked in the description. Now, there are various methods of keeping a commonplace book, and not everyone uses the same definition. Personally, I'm not too interested in telling you exactly how you should commonplace. I think that is something you should discover for yourself. Some people only write down quotes, they only copy the source material into their notebooks, while others engage with the source material further by writing down their reflections, arguments, comments on the copied quotes as well. Not unlike how you could write marginalia in a book or scientific article. But the main part, the copying of the quotes into your commonplace book, that's what sets it apart from journaling. Journaling typically centers around your own thoughts and doesn't necessarily include entire passages from the books you read, for example. So, why would you want to copy quotes into a notebook in the first place, right? So, the general idea of taking notes is that it helps you retain information better because you're engaging with the material and you're making it easier for yourself to find the information that you deem important. But what I noticed, especially when I was still in university, was that I would often be able to recall what a specific article was about and the claims and the arguments of the authors, but I would have a hard time seeing the connections between various articles and the connections between different ideas. And that happened because I studied these articles in sort of a vacuum, in isolation, while in reality they are embedded in a broader discourse. And back then, I started making sort of mind maps where I put various quotes from articles on a big piece of paper when studying for exams. And I would connect these quotes, color code various ideas, and it would help me build a better understanding of the topic. And I had never heard of commonplace books back then, but commonplacing scratches that same itch in my brain, I guess. It helps me connect different ideas. So in order to really understand these quotes more deeply, to see connections that I hadn't seen before, I need to pull passages of writing from their isolation and sort of let them live in my humble notebook for a while. So this is the notebook that I'm using as a commonplace book. It's a Midori A5 notebook with blank pages. And I put a little postcard in as a very low effort way of making it look a bit more personal. And this is what the first page looks like. I'm currently reading a book called Japanese Literature, A Very Short Introduction by Alan Tansman. And while I'm reading, I highlight certain quotes that I want to come back to. And sometimes that's a key point of a certain paragraph where the idea is very clearly summarized. Sometimes it's a particularly beautifully worded sentence. And then after my reading session, I open this notebook and I copy down the quotes that are highlighted. I personally don't like writing down the quotes as I'm reading because I write quite slowly and then I'm sort of out of my reading flow. And this also gives me another chance to judge whether the quote I initially highlighted is really something that I want to keep in my Commonplace book. So for now, there isn't really much in this book. I only started it at the end of last year, and I haven't really had much time to work on it. But I did add this sort of reddish, pinkish dot in the corner. And that's a form of color coding. So it corresponds to a broad topic that I foresee that I will be writing about quite frequently in this journal, and that is Japan. So in the back, I noted sort of my color coding index. So this number corresponds to the specific zig color dot marker that I used for the dot. So it says that this color corresponds to the topic Japan, which is just something that I'm really interested in. And as I add more quotes about various other topics, I will decide on additional colors and add them to the key. Maybe I will also add some sort of index at some point, but I'm not really sure yet. So I think part of the beauty of a Commonplace book is that it can contain quotes about all kinds of seemingly unrelated topics. And firstly, that makes it very personal and unique to you. But secondly, that will help you see patterns, similar ideas, ways in which these seemingly unrelated topics share similarities after all. And as I mentioned before, at the moment, there isn't really much to see here, but I intend to keep you updated on how this little notebook evolves and grows and maybe share a quote or two that I've come across. I personally love watching videos about Commonplace books because I find it inspiring to see various methods, but also seeing all these different things that people are interested in. So I hope you found this video a bit interesting, and if you have any questions, definitely let me know, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!